maximizing profitability. Profitability is the result of taking care of those that have a stake in the organization, and more particularly, I repeat, customers, employees, suppliers, and of course, the investors, the owners of the organization will benefit from that if they take care of those three stakeholders. And the way we express that in more financial terminology is indeed the ESG, the ecological, ethical thinking that I've been referring to. So, in other words, you need to be smart, true, but in addition, in order to be responsible and more sustainable, you need to think also in terms of wisdom. And wisdom is related to a broader perspective, broader as pure profit maximization. You need to think about long term and about those stakeholders that I've been referring to. And how you do that is that kind of ESG that I earlier mentioned: ecology, social objectives, and governance. So that brings me to the last part, the core of this lecture: how you create more sustainable value by indeed uh, creating this ESG. And I'm going to use in a minute a few examples. You all have heard of it, the planet, people, profit, or you're looking at environmental issues, you're looking at the ethical issues, and you're looking at economic issues. Of course, economic is still important. Without cash, you don't survive. But beyond the cash flow you generate, I repeat, you need now, or people will think more about environmental implications as well as the ethical implications. Let me give, here is the description of how you do that. And again, I won't go in detail, but these are some of the issues, like how you reduce pollution, how you are doing something about your carbon emissions. And there are many, many, many examples, and I'll give you in a minute one. On the social pillar, it's about product liability, how you are treating your human capital properly by having health and safety measures, and so on and so forth. And of course, the governance issues that I started with. How is boards, or how are boards organized in order to limit the risk and enhance the opportunities in the future? Let me be concrete. Here is an example that I have been giving you already: the Tesla versus now, let's say, the German Porsche or Audi or BMW or Mercedes, that are all electrifying their vehicles. And if you look at the stock market of Tesla, the reason that Tesla is so highly valued is not because they make huge money today. The stock is nothing else as the expectation of current and future cash flow. All right. And that means investors will look at how organizations exploit their current assets within the industry in which they operate, plus how innovative that organization is. How will they deal with competitors in the future? And in Tesla's case, they know that Tesla is exploring continuously to make better batteries, to make better electric cars. Remember, Tesla is nothing more as a computer on four wheels. And so Tesla seems to, at the moment, be highly appreciated by investors and by customers. But I can tell you, companies like Volvo, Toyota, the German car manufacturers, all are following and will compete very soon, or already, with Tesla. And this example, let me give a few minutes, because this is important, because this is something that any organization can do, including Indonesia. So what is this? This is an example of an organization that is really creating sustainable value. This is the collaboration between Schiphol Airport in the Netherlands, which is about 200 kilometers away from here. So I'm in Belgium here at the moment. I'm flying next week to India and then Indonesia. So I will be soon in Jakarta. Uh, and I may, in this case, I will not use Schiphol. I mean, but often I use it, like many others, a big airport in Europe. But what is so peculiar about it? They use it, you see the lamps there, right? In any airport, you have lamps. And usually airports buy lamps and they replace it when something goes wrong. Okay, when the lamp dies, then you just replace it. What Schiphol does today is very different. They made a deal with the supplier of those lamps. This is Philips, another Dutch company. Philips has been known to sell uh, bulbs, right? Now, what they're doing is Philips doesn't sell lamps anymore. Philips sells light. Now, that's a subtle difference, and a subtle but important difference. Why? Because it is not that Philips sells those lamps. No, they have an agreement with the airport that they will maintain and replace, when necessary, all the light. Schiphol Airport, or any airport for that matter, is paying that organization, the supplier, for making sure that there is light in the airport in the morning and at night. And with the technology available now, because there are LED lamps, there are sensors in those LED lamps, which are beamed through the Internet of Things to Eindhoven, 200 kilometers away, headquarters, where they basically know exactly which lamp is in order, which lamp needs to be maintained, which lamp needs to be replaced. So, one, they trying to reduce waste because now it's Philips who will do anything to recycle as much of the material that is there. Second, they will prolong the lifeline of those lights. Why? Because it's in our interest. So, in other words, by changing the business model, by not just selling products, but products becomes a service now, you see clearly that the marketing strategy is veering towards more sustainable waste, it's reducing energy, it's reducing pollution, and so on and so forth, all because it's changing the business model. And I can tell you, many organizations are now going in that direction, which is a very clear way of indeed doing something about ecological objectives and ethical objectives. Okay. Um, Again, I'm running out of time. This was an example. All the dots you see there are organizations that make money or not, and are indeed performing on the social environmental performance. So, what it means is that some organizations make money, some organizations don't make money. That's inherently in life. And those that do not make money or losing money will not continue to exist in the next 10 years. Something will happen there. What I'm interested in, or like anybody of you would be interested in, is looking at the detail. And I'm just going to pick up one. If you look to the detail on the right hand side, you see there in this red dot here, Natura. Natura is a Brazilian cosmetic company that just bought Body Shop from L'Oreal. Now, but Natura is making huge money for the shareholders, very profitable. So Natura is this dot here with my cursor, if you see it, which is the same on the right hand side. And they're highly rated in terms of sustainability because they're using the indigenous Amazon knowledge about herbs and skin herbs that allows people to look good and protect themselves against the sun. And so it's a company that's doing very well on that scale of ESG. In other words, making more sustainable products and at the same time making money. But again, not always true. You have companies that make not much money and are very idealistic. So it's a question of, okay, where you're standing and how can you improve your prognosis. And my last two slides, this is the last but one. If you look to the whole, let's say, the market in the world, including Indonesia, it's true that unfortunately that 43%, 50% of the organizations are still what we call myopic. They're not interested in stakeholders and environment. They just want to make money. Okay, fine. They can do that, but you will see around them things will change. And if they don't adapt, if they're not resilient, if they're not willing to be agile, they will not continue to exist. Okay, so it's in the interest of organizations to embrace a vision that is indeed more sustainable. Because if you don't do that, I'm afraid in the next 10, 20 years, you may not continue to exist. And so the idea, and that's my last slide here, is indeed about, okay, you need to be commercially viable. obviously. Those that cannot survive, or sorry, those that will not be able to create cash flow